All right, good morning, Trinity family. Welcome to another installment of our Midweek Check-In. I'm sneaking into the sanctuary to film this quickly before we get to the Nancy Schreiber funeral a little bit later this Thursday morning. I hope you're all doing well, and I bid you all good travels today. The winter storm warning that we've got out is a little bit scary. We know how to handle snow, but ice scares the crap out of me, so be careful today. Don't go out if you have to. Try to avoid that. Here's hoping that we end up just getting more rain than we do ice. What am I going to talk to you about today? And as another FYI to you, I told you this last week, I am now doing these unscripted. I did them scripted for the first couple months, but now I'm trying to do them without reading off of a manuscript. So I'm winging it a little bit more. And I think that's good for my education to learn how to think on my feet a little bit more quickly. So what am I going to talk to you about today? Well, I am preaching this weekend, but in my message, my sermon is going to focus mostly on our Old Testament reading from Isaiah, and I'm going to be exploring what it is that Isaiah sees in his vision of God in heaven and what it is that we learn about God from that vision. So I'm not going to be talking as much about the overarching theme that kind of connects all three of the readings in the lectionary. And that theme is the theme of God's call. The gospel lesson especially is from Luke 5, and it's the story of Jesus calling Peter to ministry. What do we think about when we hear the word call in the context of the church, or when we hear the word vocation? What's the first thing that pops into our mind? For a lot of people, they immediately assume that what's being talked about is this. They assume that anytime they hear the word call or the word vocation in the context of the church, that it must be talking about somebody being called to ministry, called to ordained ministry, or somebody that is called to serve the church as a teacher or whatever it is. But they assume that call means a very narrow, specific set of things. And that's not necessarily the case. God can call us to all sorts of things in our lives. God often calls us to multiple things at each period of our lives. Most of us tend to wear multiple hats. We play multiple roles, and each of those can be different callings that God has given to us in this season of our lives. And all of those calls are just as valid as this one. This doesn't mean anything special other than the fact that God has given a call to certain people to serve the church in ordained ministry, but everybody has a call. You have a call. You probably have multiple callings to do multiple things at this time of your life. So what kinds of things does God call us to? Well, God can call us to all sorts of different things, and God can call us to wear multiple hats at once. I remember, as an example, that one time I was leading an adult discussion group at St. John's, Perrysville, when I was doing my ministerial field work there. And I remember, and I don't remember why I made this comment, and as a side note, it's very easy for me to be able to wax poetic about the joys of parenthood when I'm not a parent, by the way. But I remember mentioning that maybe during this period of your life, if you're a parent, your calling from God is to change diapers. And that seems like a very silly example, and I said it intentionally silly to make people laugh a little bit, but I said it that way to try to get people to think of the things we do in our everyday lives as a call. Now, I remember there was a young father in that study group who kind of scowled when I said that, and he said, I don't look at it that way. I look at changing diapers as something I have to do because it needs done, not because God's calling me to do it. Well, he's right. He's absolutely right. Of course, it's something we have to do. But what I'm asking us to consider is looking at the things we're tasked with doing every day of our lives as life-giving and not life-limiting. You could choose to look at the pain-in-the-butt tasks that we're given to do that need done as something that just needs done, or we could choose to look at it as something that God has tasked us to do during this season of our lives, something that God has called us to do during this season. If we look at it the latter perspective, that is life-giving. That adds meaning and purpose to that task that otherwise just seemed like an annoying thing that I had to knock out today, right? And so let us all consider the ways that we can start looking at the roles that we play in our everyday lives as calls. I am called in this phase of my life to be an intern. I am called to be a good husband. I am called to be a good son. I am called to be a good citizen. These are all the different hats that I wear every day, and God calls me to do all of those things to the best of my ability. And you all have a call. Whether you're called to wear one of these or not, your call is no less valid. Everybody has a call. And if we look at the things we do as a call, maybe that adds an extra dimension of meaning to them that lets us do those things more joyfully than we would have done without that added bit of meaning. That's all I have for you this week, Trinity family. I will see you all in worship this weekend. God bless.